So I'm over here talking about how Nintendo and PlayStation are competitors, and a game like Astrobot proves it simply because they're similar games. They're basically targeting a very similar audience. However, it appears that some folk that are hardcore PlayStation fans think that this is somewhat of an insult because I'm not going to sit here and fawn over Astrobot. I'll never sit there and fawn over a game like Zelda or Mario either. Those are not my kinds of games. I won't play them. I won't touch them. It's nothing against PlayStation. It's just me talking about the economic reality of both video game publishers. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes I think a lot of people really do tie their identity to the box. And whenever you're trying to have a conversation about something that you think is important, it's hard for them to be able to divorce themselves from this reality. Believe it or not, in this video, somebody said this: Black Myth Wukong is sold or has sold 18 million units, and it's not on Xbox, by the way. This amount of insanity, when you're supposed to be playing Astrobot, and when I'm talking about how Astrobot is basically, in a sense, one of those games that's encroaching on Nintendo's turf, which is fine. Competition is necessary. They're both competitors. And somebody just jumps straight into left field to talk about Wukong not being on Xbox. Well, I'll respond because I believe that there's a logical statement that I strongly believe would help provide some insight as to why this is a thing. Now, I've learned very, very well that a lot of folk who are hardcore PlayStation fans, in some weird way, cannot see PlayStation under any other light than the light of some perception that they have. You see, this is the core problem that PlayStation is now seeing the result of, where they spend more time temporarily keeping games off of Xbox rather than actually making games in their own ecosystem. You see, that's why at the conclusion of everything, everybody will say, well, PlayStation ain't Nintendo, because instead of Nintendo actually, money hatting games like PlayStation, they actually invest the money into their own ecosystems where they basically churn out games that sell fat dollars every single time, constantly beating any other publisher out there, not just PlayStation, but anyone else. And so if at any rate PlayStation would follow this particular, paradigm, I think that their audience would probably be successful. And I think that their boss would probably not put out a statement like that saying that they don't have any successful IPs. All this while, we've been led to believe that PlayStation is over here investing in these IPs. Remember when they said that all the time? They invest in these studios and they nurture them from when they're little to when they grow. When in reality, that's not what they've been doing as aggressively as the people who propose all this PlayStation talk make it out to seem. And I've been calling this money hatting thing out, but somehow, some way, some people have equated that, well, other companies should money hat harder. They should do the same and compete. Even some of you on the Xbox side have said, well, Xbox needs to find a way to, spend more money so that these games don't stay off of Xbox. And I'm like, what kind of self-defeating business strategy are both the PlayStation fans and hardcore Xbox fans actually proposing here? Because it's a very silly one. Why not take that money and put it into your studios? If you're not money hatting, you can invest in studios, keep them open, and develop much more smaller IPs. In fact, the same could even be said, even though this is not the case of money hatting, but in the case of acquiring, say, Activision Blizzard, they're now $69 billion deep on that transaction. So there's little room for exploration and there's little room for creativity to shine until at least they're guaranteed that they're going to be making that money back. Thankfully, they've already kind of sent some of those small games into the ether. So we're going to see continuation in terms of those titles. So at the end of the day, you can't necessarily say that Black Myth Wukong has sold 18 million copies and it's not on Xbox when it's still coming to Xbox. And you can't say that to someone who plays on PC, who I will buy a game that I would like to play and I already bought the game and I'm playing the game, while most PlayStation players are not the majority of the sales of Black Myth Wukong. In fact, what's crazy is you would have thought that a game like, Helldivers 2 would more than likely sit at maybe even 80% of the PlayStation user base actually playing that game. However, at the best that we can actually put it, it's 50-50 split. When PC has to carry your games and push them at the top of sales charts, then I don't think many of these PlayStation folk have a ground to stand on. You really got to watch your house and clean your house if you're going to sit out here trying to talk about Xbox, because y'all's executives, they're looking like they're just somewhat clueless, because for the most part, it was nice to make cinematic feely games, but then costs have started to go up, and your biggest golden goose is now sitting at the hands of your major competitor. What are y'all going to do about it? I hope you guys buy Astrobot, because again, that video was about Astrobot, but you see how tactfully the situation has quickly changed. They basically tried to switch it up to, well, Wukong is not on Xbox. No, I'm not taking that bait. I'm pointing out exactly the problem with this, and I'm calling out this whole PlayStation fan base that acts like, man, they are some kind of, royalty, when the company that you guys are basically trying to champion for doesn't give a hoot about you. I mean, it's insane. Just the other, a few hours ago, I saw a whole list. Somebody put it on my channel with many IPs that PlayStation should and could have fostered. Even though some of them don't belong to PlayStation, they still ran through that ecosystem, and they probably could have been able to maybe acquire the IPs to, in a sense, invigorate those developers by infusing of cash. But instead, it was much more expedient for them to go and try to keep Final Fantasy off of Xbox, like that was some noble thing to do. And PlayStation fans championed it, which is just insane to me. So yeah, if we're going to talk about Wukong, we're going to talk about Wukong according to its merits. And I will take some time to make a video talking about how exactly what I've been saying is being proven with Wukong in the PlayStation's case, which is third-party games are literally outselling PlayStation games. Like, do you not see that? Do you not see that Wukong has literally, in a very short period of time, outsold God of War Ragnarok? I mean, do you not see that? Okay. If you don't see it, I'll talk about it in another video. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.